And just like that, I am back. Woo! Let me tell y'all, it's been a time getting on here tonight. Okay. Woo! I forgot to get my ice water because, baby, I'm hot. Excuse
It
me,
must be a
Karen.
mighty word happening tonight.
Listen, y'all already know what it is. Y'all see me, and you see, I have a guest for tonight. Okay, listen, it was a struggle, but I did it. Dear God, I did it. So tonight, I have a treat for you. Okay, but before we get into all of that, you already know what it is. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please do so at this time. That is Journey with Dina. That will be me. Please make sure you hit the button so you will be notified every time I go live. Okay, that's all I ask you to do. And share it with a friend, family member, folk, whoever it is that needs to hear the word. Okay. So now that I'm giving y'all the house rules, we gonna start on our journey tonight. Okay. So as always, I am your host, Dina, for tonight. And tonight I have the pleasure of having my friend Shay. Okay. So before I introduce Shay, I'm gonna tell y'all what y'all already know what we're doing. If you've been watching this week, you know that we are in the mini series of the waiting period, right? The waiting period has all kinds of some of everything, and sometimes it can be an extended period, okay? But this week we were talking about faith building while in the waiting period and the different avenues to get to building your faith. However, sometimes when you're building that faith, the Lord uses some things that we don't want to use, and it be all right, right? So we're gonna talk
Mhm.
about tonight about still building faith while in the waiting period, and we're gonna talk about delays, and we're gonna talk about wasted time. Okay, so listen, get you something to drink, get your little pen and your paper, and get ready to drink. Okay. So I feel like we at the church. So let me introduce our guest for the night. Okay. I ain't have time to get a bio. We ain't have time to do all that right now. So I'm gonna wing it. Okay. So tonight we have my friend Shay. Shay is a mom. She is a full-time entrepreneur. Y'all need y'all with locks, twists, dress, all that good natural stuff. She got y'all. She'll drop her information. Okay. I'll do all that, but my friend, she got you. Let's see what else about Shay. Shay is some kind of special, y'all. Okay. We have been friends for 10, 20, probably almost 30 years, a long, 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 long time. So that means what? We have known each other through different journeys of our lives, the good, bad, the ugly, and the in between. Okay. So if y'all remember, I told y'all previous that I was gonna bring on someone to talk about an experience that I seen that she shared on Facebook, right? But when we was talking, we was reminded that you can't tell where you are until you tell how you got there, right? So they got us to talking, and Shay was ready to just let the Lord use her tonight. Well, she went out ready, but she gonna be ready, okay? So I'm gone. Hold on, before I do that, let me go over here in the comments. So when y'all join in, drop down and give me your name. Tell us where you're watching from. Say hey to us. Don't be rude and come in and don't speak to us. Just and when you watch the replay, just drop in the comments that I'm watching the replay. Tell us what you think. Give us a little feedback, some comment, what you want to see. Because baby, listen, we can risk it all, okay? So with that being said, Shay, you go ahead and start it how you want to start it, okay?
Okay. So I'll start out at the event that I posted that you seen. That's how it got us to this place. But then
Mhm.
I'll backtrack and go how I let you know how I got there. So the
Okay.
event that Dana is talking about is a private dinner. I did a staycation and private dinner with a private chef for myself. Because oftentimes in our times of singleness, we negate and neglect ourselves. So
Mhm.
the Lord put it on my heart to start doing things for myself, things that I would want somebody else to do for me. I needed to start doing for myself. Okay. So I'll go back. I'm I was married. I've been married twice, divorced twice. And that's because I did not want to wait. And in the process, so I'll go back to my first marriage. Prior to, I had so much trauma and unhealed areas of my life that I married a man 14 years older than me first, looking for validation and security, looking for things that I should have been giving myself.
Mm-hmm.
I should have took the time. In that time, that was my one. That was prior to that. That was my waiting period. But instead of me waiting, I opt out of the waiting period to be in a relationship, which only caused me to find myself in more in a place of where I needed to heal. It caused deeper wounds that was already than those that were already there. So in your waiting phase, God is using that phase to prune us, to
Mm-hmm.
prepare us. But because I wasn't prepared, I entered into a situation unprepared.
Okay.
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 So the way God gave it to me the other day, when he told me I had to share out my business, was in my first marriage, I experienced so much trauma that I could avoid it. It's almost like I wanted something, God allowed me to have it, knowing that I didn't need it because I wasn't ready for it. Okay.
So that's one of the sayings, like they say, a blessing given too soon is a burden.
God told me a blessing out of season is a curse.
That's even worse.
Out of
Okay.
season is a curse. And so it's almost like, so I'll tell you what happened. So because of that, I end up enduring. I lost everything, all my material possessions. This man put me and my kids out with absolutely nothing. Okay. So after we divorced, I supposed to have been going into another waiting period. And instead of me waiting, Shay like to do what Shay like to do. Okay. I'm just gonna keep it real. I know what God tell me to do. I hear from the Lord.
Okay. So let me ask you a question there. So you said Shay knows what she's supposed to do.
Absolutely.
So, but when Shay do what Shay want to do, that means that's the kind of what little disobedient that you know.
Child,
Okay, so
child,
I'm just making sure I'm
child,
tracking with you. There's a little disobedience
child.
going
There's
on
some
in your
whoopings going on with the disobedience.
life. Okay, because everything, every what you say, you reap in different ways. You reap and you sow in different ways,
Now,
right?
yes, yes, but God is so good and so gracious, even in the midst of it. Okay, so I
Hmm.
did have to take those whippings. You know what I'm saying? There's consequences to being disobedient. That's why the Bible tells us that disobedience, I mean, sacrifices. Wait a minute. Yeah, no, disobedience is just as witchcraft. Is what the Word of God says. And so
Hmm.
sometimes we put ourselves in these wilderness places when we don't have to be. And so that was my case. I put myself in a wilderness situation when I didn't have to be because I didn't want to wait on God. I just wanted to do things how I wanted to do them, right? So even after that, I still didn't learn my lesson. Okay. It's almost like the children of Israel, you know what I'm saying? They took a
Hmm.
journey that they didn't have to take so long to go on because they wanted to do what they wanted to do. They wanted what they wanted. And so therefore, God will allow us to do it just to show us that's not what we're supposed to do. So moving forward, going into I divorced in 2017. I remarried in 21. Still not taking the time to properly heal. Okay. Because I never took time for myself. And I remember you and I having a conversation. You were like, I just challenged you to 6 months of, being by yourself. And I was like, girl, please. I am not
So
going to be by myself.
I'm glad you said that because that was a very important part because that was many years ago, and I remember having that conversation with you when I was sitting in my room cleaning out my closet, and I think you was finna start talking to. You said you met somebody or something. I was like, listen, I think you need to take a what I say, 60 days, 30 days, 30
60
days.
days.
I said take 60
60.
days. Do not talk to no man. Don't go on no dates. Don't just none, period. And she told me,
Child,
girl, and she meant it.
child, child.
But that was because I knew kind of, the journey that you have been on. And so as your
Mm-hmm.
friend, because that's why I talk about it's very important to have friends that you can share things with. That's not gonna just say, well, girl, do you and girl do this. No, you need to have some friends that's got a relationship with God that can tell you some
Absolutely.
things, pray some things, and see some things and share some things. Now, it was up to you if you took it or not, which she chose not to take it. But me as a friend, I'm still gonna give it to you because it's my obligation, as that's my friend contract that I signed. But I feel like we were in a place that I can say that to you. However, you didn't take it, but it's okay because I did my part. Okay, so go ahead.
Absolutely. And it had nothing to do with you. The reason why I didn't receive it, it was all me. Because
Right.
I was in my phase. I want to do what I want to do, right? So I know, and that's why I wasted a lot of time in the wilderness, because I could have been out. I could have been out of the wilderness when it comes to relationships. But because I wanted to do what I wanted to do, knowing that God has already called me to do something else, I wasted time. And then I wasted. God wants to bless us abundantly. However, sometimes he can't get the blessing to us because we're not in proper position. We're not prepared for the blessing. And so at that time, had he gave me what he wanted for me, I wouldn't have been ready because I didn't take the time in the waiting room to prepare. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the first marriage, I and I'm gonna use the word bankrupt, okay? This is me being transparent and honest, and like putting all my business out there, honey. Child, the Lord know he would have you telling your business, but baby, okay.
But it's
So
his business though.
the first, it's definitely his business. The first, the first situation bankrupt me materialistic. Okay, like I lost everything: the house, the car, the clothes. Me and my kids had nothing. We had to start over. We were homeless. But God, He
Mm-hmm.
restored everything within 6 months. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
everything and some. Okay,
Okay.
so even although I was disobedient, God still blessed. Okay, He still blessed. The favor of God was still there, even in my disobedience. So fast forward to this last situation. It didn't bankrupt me in that way, but spiritually it bankrupted me
Mm-hmm.
because I got to a place, and I was sharing this with one of my customers today. I got to a place where I couldn't even hear from God like I would normally hear from God.
Mm-hmm.
I was begging for the presence of God. God went silent on me, and I was like, God, where are you? Like, I can't hear you. I can't see you. I know I have prophetic gifts. I know I hear. I know I see. But God, I couldn't see nothing. Nothing. And there's nothing in this world that I want more than to be able to hear his voice and be in his presence. Because I'm lost without it. So
Right.
not only did it bankrupt me spiritually, also financially, I went through some hardships in that marriage. And so in that, God was saying, okay, now you didn't take the time to prepare, and you keep hopping into these situations only to find yourself in deeper in situations that you have to bury. You have to, it's almost like I buried myself and I have to get myself out of it, if that makes sense. So it's
Right.
like I create my own grave, okay, in
Mm-hmm.
situations. And so this time I said, okay, I just threw up my hands and I said, you know what, God, I've done it my way. I've done it my way long enough. Baby, I've been driving the car. I done flew the plane. I became a pilot. I've done it all. Okay. My hands are off the wheel. I'm in the back seat. I don't even want to be in the front seat no more. Put me in the back seat. I'm gonna be a driving Miss Daisy, okay? I don't want no parts of nothing. And so in that process, I began the real waiting. And in
Okay.
that process, spiritually, I hear him clear. My relationship is so much greater than it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to go through a spiritual wilderness. Financially, I'm in an amazing place. I'm in a place that the favor of God, the favor of God has kept me in situations that in places that I know it couldn't have been nobody but him. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Mm-hmm.
favor of God has been so amazing on my life, even in the times of me being disobedient. Because even in my disobedience, I still had a relationship and I still, cried out to him. And so even though I was one of those rebellious children, I never not acknowledged him, right? And so in this season of healing and putting God before everything, it's taught me that I have missed out on so much. So what I thought I was getting that was good wasn't even close to what God has for me. And he showed me that God said, okay, in this season, the overcompensating that you've done in relationships, I want you to overcompensate for you. I want you to give yourself that. And I'm going to show you how good life can get. Okay. And in the midst of that, I can go out. And when I tell you, I go out and I go out by myself. I take myself out to dinner. I like Ruth Chris. Okay. I go and eat me some stuffed chicken and some Brussels sprouts at Ruth Chris and will order a whole feast on the table. And you think another person coming to join. And I said, bag my stuff up and take it on home. And I have a good time.
Right. Right. You do. Yeah, I give you that. But before we get into what it looks
I
like where you are
find
now.
myself at life having a good time. I was jamming. And I would eat and I would dance. Huh?
Go ahead. Yo, I think your computer is lagging behind
And
because I was.
so I can go out and God, I somebody pay for my stuff. They'll just say, hey, I got the tab. Me and God. And so I'm dating God. It's bad. It keep cutting out.
Right. It's probably your
I heard you say somewhere you are now.
I was about to say I think your connection keep going in and out. I was about to say before we get into what your waiting period and your healing looks like now, like what was the point that you got to where
Mm-hmm.
you realized that this is not working for me? Like what made you feel like okay, this ain't working and want to change to try to do it another way?
Say that one more time. You cut out.
So I was saying, like, what made you get to the point before you got into this now?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear me.
Yours is lagging.
What about now? Because yours is frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can
So
hear you now. Okay.
okay, you good now? You moving because you still look frozen. So I don't know. Maybe you need to come back, go out and come back in. I'm not sure what yours keep. Okay, there you go. You back?
Let me go in the house because I don't know if it's mine or yours. Let me
You're
see.
going. So what I keep hearing her saying is why she's getting hers back reconnected is about how important and how I continue to stress about all the things that we have went through on the podcast with the healing from the trauma from the waiting period that it is real and like the waiting period it has so much that needs to be done in that period before you
You
get to
cutting
that
out.
healing place. I can hear you but you froze.
You see, I yours is lagging on your end, on my side. Okay, it's better
Okay.
now.
Okay. Okay. Stay in the house. Don't go back outside, y'all. Cause y'all know I'm new to this now. Okay. Okay. So initially, so while you was changing rooms, I
I
was
know, right?
telling them
Yeah.
to, how important it is for us to put that time in during the waiting period. Like I've been continuing to saying about working on yourself and like healing yourself and enjoying yourself and doing all of these things so that you won't have all these, like you said, delayed or wasted time when you get into relationships. And a lot of times we get into relationships and we know doggone well that ain't where we're supposed to be. But we get out of relationships, like you said, because we are looking for love in all the wrong places. We just want somebody as a filler to be there because a lot of other people have people, but you don't know what those people are doing in those relationships. They may seem happy, but you don't know what's going on. So comparison is our number one killer. Comparison and overthinking. And I was just saying,
Yeah.
how all that plays a part into when you get to that point where, some for others, some it takes a little longer than others. Some be like, look, I ain't got time for all this. My peace is everything. But I was asking, what point did you get to? Like, we're gonna go back to your first marriage. Like when you said when you got out of your first marriage, you didn't go into the waiting period. You just continued on. So at that point, I guess you didn't like. How did you feel coming out of that first marriage and going, keep it moving, that you didn't take the time, or was it something that you would have did differently, or just take us back to, when you came out of the first marriage and you was trying to rebuild yourself.
So after my first marriage, I was angry with God. I was angry. I was angry with God. I was angry with him. So I had a lot of anger. So
Mhm.
if you don't, what I've learned on this journey, if you don't deal with those emotions, they play out in your life. Okay. So
Mhm.
some people use drugs, some people use sex, some people use alcohol, whatever it is to help you cope. Okay.
Okay.
My coping thing was to go on a date, just for somebody to make me feel good. Like it wasn't even necessary sex. You know what I'm saying? It was just
Right.
somebody to take me out. Like one time, at one point, I had somebody take me out every day of the week. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it wasn't sex. It was just I was just somebody to spend time with, somebody to have a conversation with. So that was helping me deal with the emotions to get over my ex-husband, but
Mhm.
it was only masking the pain. It wasn't really dealing with the root cause. Okay. So it's always a root cause of why we are in situations.
Exactly.
And so I didn't deal with the root cause. So guess what? The second time around, that husband and my first husband was the same person, just different bodies. You know how they say you date the same person, just different, the same spirit, different bodies. Well,
Right. Right.
I got to experience that this second time around. So I said to God, I said, okay, God, now this, I know this is a test. It was something that I didn't get the first time that I need to get this time. So I was like, okay, I had to go into like total solitude, isolation, separation from the world, from everybody. You saw that part of the journey last year. And
Right.
so
So before you start talk about your solitude and your separation, we're gonna table it because we ain't gonna give them all tonight. We're gonna let
okay.
it marinate so they can go back and put into their mind the waiting period, the wasted time, delayed time, like all of this stuff that Shay has, has journeyed with us on about how she is going through her journey now. Now she has decided to go into that waiting period and what it all looks like. Like this is just the beginning of her journey. Even though she's been on her journey, this is a whole nother level of journey because we already know that everything that we go through is for somebody else, right? And so somebody may be on here or somebody may come through to maybe in this situation and they may be trying to figure out how can I get to that place. So guess what? We're gonna help you out with that, but it won't be tonight. So you got to come back tomorrow to tune in to see how you get there. Okay. So thank you all for tuning in. Hi, Angela. Thank you for joining. Shay, thank you for opening up and letting God allow you to use your story, your testimony for somebody else. You know that God gets the glory out of everything that we go through. And
Absolutely.
this is only just the beginning. Okay, y'all, because Shay has agreed to come back on tomorrow so we can continue the journey. Okay. So until then, make sure you hit the button to be notified because we will be back on tomorrow. Okay. See y'all then.
Bye.